Hey guys, it's Nick with Urban Farm Boys. How's everybody doing? I have a day off today and it's a beautiful day. It's going to be in the mid-80s. And I've got projects. I've got plant projects. I've got some meal prepping to do, some crochet organizing to do. So I thought I would just turn the camera on and take you guys with me. I bought these two plants 6 weeks ago. If you're like, those aren't plants, those are jars. You're right, but there's plants in jars. So these are both plants in tissue culture. If you don't know about tissue culture, I will link something below where you can learn more. Tissue culture is essentially the idea of extracting DNA from plants and then being able to grow them in a lab. When plants in tissue culture sort of came out a few years ago, a lot of people were against it. They're like, that's not a real plant if it was grown in a lab. But it is, genetically. And tissue culture is good because it helps to prevent, people taking plants out of their native habitat. It also makes plants more affordable. Plants that used to cost tens of thousands of dollars, like this one. This cost me $75, I think. This is a Philodendron Spiritus Sancti. It used to be like the holy grail of plants. Literally tens of thousands of dollars. Now, because of tissue culture, they're much more accessible. And this little one is a Monstera Mint, which these are still very expensive. Hundreds of dollars, thousands for a big one. This cost me $100. I ordered them in May from Etsy. In April. I'm not gonna tell you guys the seller because I don't recommend them because they took weeks to ship my plant with no communication, even though I was reaching out to them. And then when I did receive my plants, my Monstera Mint, this guy, had one tiny little root, maybe 1/8 of an inch long, and it was broken. Which is why I've left these guys in tissue culture for 6 weeks, because I wanted some root growth before I took them out of this medium. This is like nutrients. And if you can see now, this guy's fine, he'll be fine. There are 2 little roots growing in, barely. There's still maybe half an inch, but I have 2 roots. I also have 1 dead leaf in here, but I got 1 new leaf. So I think he'll be okay. I reached out to the seller about this too, like I got a plant for $100 with no roots. No response. So anyway, this guy looks great. So when you take them out of tissue culture, you have to acclimate them to their new environment. So I would like to have them growing in leca, but because this guy over here has such tiny roots, I don't want to do that yet. I don't think he'll succeed. So I have some sphagnum moss here, and I think I'm going to put them in sphagnum moss to start with, to get them acclimated and rooted, and I'll switch them over to leca later. So when you take them out of tissue culture, this is basically like good humidity and all the nutrients they need. You have to rinse all that stuff off of them before you put them into the new medium. When this leaf started dying in there, I was so annoyed because it had no roots, and then a leaf started dying. But we do have some new roots, and we do have a new leaf, so hopefully we'll be okay. These are really pretty plants. If you have the Monstera albo or the Thai constellation, this is just like another one in the family. So I'm excited if it survives. Not getting my hopes up, but anyway, I have to take these guys out of the auger that they're in and rinse them really well. So I'm gonna go inside and do that real quick, and then I'll be back. All right, let me show you the rinsed plants. So this is my Monstera mint. With its 2 little leaves, 2 little roots, I should say. I took the dead leaf off, but it has 4 leaves. Let's hope. And then this is my Spiritus Sancti. So this one looks pretty robust. It's got lots of leaves. They are sizing up. And it has a whole lot of roots. Tons of roots. I think this guy will do fine. I did my best to kind of get the roots pointed downward. And I thought about putting these into sphagnum moss back in those little tubes because they're small and clear and I can see the root growth, but they're also very small. So I have these little containers. I have a lot of other plants on them. They have drainage. So I think I'm going to do that. And I have a nutrient solution here because they're losing all their vitamins now, so I want to make sure they have more vitamins. So I just soaked my moss and I'm going to wring it out. And then I really kind of just want to gently wrap the roots. I'm going to kind of fill these pots. I don't ever root plants in sphagnum moss, like literally never. But a lot of people really like it, so I'm going to have like my little base, little nest. And then I'm just going to kind of gently wrap the roots. Sphagnum is good because it's absorbent, but it allows for a lot of air. So I think I'm just going to take a little bit here and wrap the plant and stick him in his little nest. Maybe I'll add a little more on top. Just a little. It's a cute little plant. I just hope he lives. I just want to make sure he's kind of secure in there. I think this is going to be fine. Hopefully. Ready? So I'm going to give him, I don't want to damage him, but I'm going to give him a decent drink here with my nutrient water. I want the moss pretty saturated. It'll drain out the bottom. But because he's coming out of that medium, I want to make sure that he's got moisture and nutrients. I'm not going to leave these plants out here on the porch. I think they would like the humidity out here, but I think they're a little too fragile, maybe in a couple weeks. So there's my Monstera Mint. That wasn't too hard, and that was the one I was nervous about. Let me do the same for the Spiritus Sancti. This one has more roots, so I think I can bury it a little deeper. I'm not as worried about that one. Having said that, this is the second Spiritus Sancti that I've bought from Tissue Culture. I've done this before. I think I have a video about it. I may have actually never posted the video about it because plant freaking died. It died. But this one looks much, much better than that one did. That one I put directly into LECA. I've done that before. I have a Thai constellation over here I'll show you that is from Tissue Culture, and it was that big when I got it, and now it's beautiful. And it's always lived in LECA. Spiritus Sancti wasn't quite as happy. Sorry about the train. Trying to get all his leaves exposed so they're not buried under the moss. I think this is good. Okay, let me give him a drink. Alright, I'll keep you guys updated. This plant, I think, used to cost $15,000. Now you can have it for 50 or 60. Alright. Since I mentioned my Thai constellation that was from Tissue Culture, I'll show you real quick. This is my Thai constellation. When I got him, he was that big. That included the roots. And he's doing great. He's only ever lived in LECA. I have him in glass. If you're curious about LECA, I have what I think is a really good comprehensive video about LECA. I'll link it below. And if you want to know how to have plants in glass, I have a video about how I drill drainage holes in glass, which I will also link below. Look at this newest leaf though. Isn't that pretty? It's still hardening off. Super nice. So, that's great, right? Tissue Culture. I hope you can't hear my neighbors. We have new neighbors moving in, and I'm pretty sure they're putting in a pool in their backyard, which is exciting for them, but I'm not used to having noise next door. That house has been vacant for like 3 years, so it's very weird. But anyway, I have a few other little planty projects to do out here, or just some maintenance. So let's show you what I'm gonna do. I have this Philodendron Dark Lord. This has been one of my wish list plants forever. The foliage is so dark, and the stems are like this deep red, so are the new leaves, and the backs of all the leaves are red. Super pretty. But at some point the growth was going really well, and then I lost a couple of leaves here and it looks stupid, and I don't like this. So I have really good growth up here, but I'm gonna cut this off. Hopefully that'll stimulate some new growth from here, and then I'm gonna try to root this in water, and then I will either have 2 of them or I'll have a bigger plant. So I'm literally just gonna cut this off right here. I was wondering if the sap would be red. It is kind of pink. So I have nodes down here where I could get a new plant, and you see these little roots and nodes here. I'm tempted to make another cut right here. I have a little propagation box where I put things like this so they can grow. So I think I'm going to cut this guy again. Maybe I'll get one to grow from here, And this one should root and grow as well. I think I will do that. So I'm just going to cut here. These scissors could be way better. But they call this wet stick propagation. Throw this in the right medium and it'll grow. It should grow. So that's that. This guy looks a little stumpy now, but hopefully he'll grow fuller in the future. I have a little Hoya here. I'm not very good at taking care of Hoyas, but the ones I do have are living, but he's been sitting in water. So he's gonna have to be in an ugly pot for the summer, or until I replace that plastic one with a nicer one. I actually have another Hoya right below him in the same scenario. See? But they just hold on to water. Too much water. Oh, this one's gonna tip too. I'm gonna have to do something about this one. But he'll be okay for a little bit. Okay, on to the next zone. I have a little rabbit's tail fern here. I'm trying to keep ferns alive. I have hanging Boston ferns that love my porch. But ferns are challenging, and this one, ferns like to be moist, and I like this pot. It feels very Scandinavian to me. I'm not sure. I might leave him because I think if anyone's going to stay wet, it should be a fern, so I might leave this one. This one is my philodendron white knight. I have white knight, white wizard, and white princess, but he's staying too wet. I have this big philodendron micans, which is pretty and long. I have a hard time keeping, actually, I say I have a hard time keeping micans alive. This one looks really good. Small leaves, but it's sitting in water. So we'll fix that. This is a Baltic blue pothos. Not the happiest of plants. I don't know if he didn't like coming out into the heat or all the sunlight or sitting in water. Maybe all of the above. He's also got all these long runners growing with no leaves on them. So maybe he wants more light, I'm not sure, but I don't think he wants to sit in water. So, oh God, look at those roots, guys. Maybe that's his problem. Whoa. Okay. Well, either way, I don't have a draining pot for him. I almost wonder... Nah, we'll leave him like this. I'll order more pots this week. Look at those roots. Alright, he's just gonna go back on the shelf for now. I somehow ended up with one empty shelf right here. I was moving plants around. We'll set him there, because maybe he wants more sun, too. These plants are already growing too big. Do you see that? They're going through the shelves. It's alright. Okay, I think that was all I needed to do in terms of pot adjustments. Let's talk about moss poles for a second. So I have all 4 of those plants on moss poles. I had such high hopes for them. I can't keep them watered in the winter. They just dry out. I need to work on my winter technique. But the ones that are growing really well, which is, I have this Syngonium aurea, I believe. That one on the end there. And there's potential in all of them. So it's easier to keep them moist in the summer. And I actually have a philodendron silver sword up there that looks like he's just begging to grow up a moss pole, and I think those leaves would look really pretty if they got really big. So I'm going to build one more moss pole. I hope I have enough sphagnum moss. I also don't have a pot for him, so we're going to have to see what we can do. But let me show you these guys. So you see the syngonium is crawling really well. I have to use some more of this Velcro to reattach them. This is a philodendron. Sorry, somebody's trying to bite me. This is a philodendron. What the heck do you call it? Variegated. It's called something else. Anyway, heartleaf, variegated heartleaf. There we go. But it loosened itself from the pole, or else maybe it's just grown a lot. So I need to adjust that. Same thing with my tetrasperma here. It's kind of growing off the pole. And this marble queen pothos too. I need to adjust the tape on all of these. But I'm gonna try with this guy. The silver sword. He just looks like he would like a pole. He's growing upright. All his roots are on the back side. I'm wondering if I can fit a moss pole into that pot. I know it's tiny, but most of the roots grow into the pole, or at least they're supposed to. I don't think it'll fit, but let's find out. Those have pretty leaves. Alright, so I ordered more of these moss poles on Amazon. I'll link them below. I like them because they're plastic. I've tried metal and it was not a great success. And I like that you can see the roots in these, that they have kind of like the sealed back, because I think that helps them hold moisture better. So, they're pretty easy too. Oh, they have plastic on them. Oh. Shoot, there went the plant, damn it. Okay. So, I'm gonna put moss in these before I put them together. You just fold on these creases, and then the plant will grow up this front, this holy mesh sort of front. So it's super easy. I hope I have enough moss, because I don't want to go hunting for more. So I'm just going to squeeze out some moss and fill this thing. I think this will be enough. And I try to leave like 3 or 4 inches at the bottom open. I'll show you what I mean. See how the little holes only go so far? Because you want that to go directly in the soil. So let me just see here. And if I don't have enough moss, I'll leave a gap at the top, because I can always fill that in later as the plant grows. Yeah, I'm not going to end up having enough, but I'll fix it, like I said. You can also you can seal these up first and then put the moss in. I've kind of been dreading doing this project just because moss poles are not my strong suit. But the longer I wait, the less chance my plant gets. Okay, so I really only have enough moss for about half of this pole, but that's okay. And then you just clip them in. Yeah, it'll take a while for it to climb this pole, so I'm not too worried. Okay, This is a weird position to be in. Anyway, so I have a pot with some soil. You can also sort of fill the bottom of the pole if you want. Can you see? All right, and since I just knocked this plant over, it came right out, but I want the roots to be toward the pole. Yeah, I think this is gonna look really nice. Let me just fill it with a little more soil here. And then these poles come with plant Velcro. I have a bunch, but I'll just use this. I just need to grab my scissors. Okay. And then you literally just Velcro the plant to the pole so that it can start rooting. Let's see here. I might do one more at the bottom so that it has a little bit of extra contact. Okay, that's all we're gonna do for now. I'll get more moss soon. But, you see? Now hopefully he can grow upward and live his best life. And now I have 5 plants on moss poles that I don't like. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, I think that's it for plant projects for the day. I'm gonna get these guys inside under some grow lights. And we'll move on to the next project. Woo, it is bright outside. I think my next project is I need to mow the lawn again. So we have a lot of lawn here. We live on 9 acres. And my riding lawnmower kind of died nearly a month ago. And I spent like 2 full weekends doing repairs myself. I changed the oil, I changed the fuel, I changed the fuel filter, I changed the battery. And it was like sputtering and dying, and I ran out of skills of my own. So then I called a company, and then they had to take like another week before they could come pick it up. And then another week before they could bring it back. You know what the problem was? It had a bee in the fuel line. A bee. He said bees can get into your gas canister, like the hose or the tube, and then you pour a bee into your gas tank, and then it blocks everything. So that was my diagnosis. Bee in the fuel line. But he removed the bee. I don't think the bee survived. And so basically it's been a month since I mowed the lawn, and it looked like a jungle out here. I did it 3 days ago and got everything down, but I've got all these clumps and it's uneven. And he also replaced the blades with like super duper ultra mulching blades. So I think if I cut it down one more time today, it should look a lot better than it does. So I'm gonna go do that. I'm not gonna take you with me on the lawnmower. Not interesting. It takes about an hour, hour and a half to mow this lawn. So I'll be back later, and I'm gonna be ready to get in the pool. Andrew should be waking up. Maybe we'll get him to make an appearance if we ask nicely. But I think I'm gonna mow the lawn before it gets too much hotter. Okay, the lawn is mowed. I'm covered in dust. I need to go and get in the pool. But while I was mowing the lawn, I got some yarn. So you guys want to do a quick yarn unboxing? It's not very exciting. It's just more yarn for my temperature blanket. Now that we're in the warmer months of the year, I know which colors I'm going to use a lot of, and I needed more. I just finished my May square of my Granny square temperature blanket. For June, I needed more. I also noticed they left this in the driveway with yarn hanging out the bottom. This box is pretty banged up, but it's all right. Okay, it's all Loops and Threads Soft Classic Acrylic that I'm using for my temperature blanket. And I needed clay. So I got 4 of those. I don't know if I'll need 4, but might as well get the same lot number, right? I needed more of the mauve. Four of those. I'm going to use a lot of this month and probably toward the end of the summer. I needed pink. Do you see a pattern here? Wait, just as I say that, yeah, there's 4 of each. I needed curry. Oop, that was the one that was coming out of the bottom. 4 of those. And I needed ginger. So I got 4 of those. I don't know if I'm going to need 4 of each. Probably not. But these are really the colors of summer, and we're just getting into it. It's not even summer yet. So I think the next couple of months of my temperature blanket are going to look like this. That's it. Yarn unboxing is complete. Do you hear the sound of my fish tank behind me? The water level's a little bit low, and I actually want to do a whole water change. We have 3 aquariums in this house, and they could all do with a water change. Maybe I'll do that today. But I'm covered in lawn clippings, so I'm going to get in the pool first. Maybe a little bit later, since you guys have been patient with all my plant care, I'll take you up to my yarn room, figure out where I'm going to put all these. I need to do a little bit of yarn organization, so we'll do that later. So stay tuned. Like this video if you have enjoyed what you've seen so far. This video is not sponsored by the dairy industry, I promise. But I wanted to show you guys, I like to do a lot of like meal prepping and stuff like that, and I was going to do 2 things today, which I thought I would show you. One is I'm going to make my own yogurt, and another is I'm going to make my own butter. And it's super easy. I have a couple of kitchen tools that help me, but you don't have to have either one of them. One is a KitchenAid, and one is an Instant Pot. There's definitely ways to do them without either of those things. The first thing I'm going to do is make yogurt, which is super easy. You can do it in the Instant Pot, and you literally mix ultra filtered milk with starter culture. I don't have any yogurt at home right now, so I actually just bought yogurt, this Faye yogurt. And once you have your yogurt, you can use that yogurt as your starter culture, so it just kind of continues on its own without needing to buy anything else except for milk. And you just add, what is this, 52 ounces, just a container. It has to be ultra filtered milk with yogurt. Let me see how much real quick. So literally just 2 tablespoons of yogurt. You don't want any flavoring in it, and it needs to have live cultures in it. You mix it up, and if you have an Instant Pot, there is a yogurt setting, and you don't even need the lid on the Instant Pot. They just say to put like a paper towel and a little plate over it, and it just warms it at this low temperature for 8 hours, and then you throw it in the fridge for another 8 hours, and then you have this amazing yogurt when you're done. You can sweeten it with whatever you want. A friend of mine who gave me this recipe puts condensed milk in hers for her kids. I put maybe a little bit of honey or maple syrup, but I don't add anything to it. I just add it later, like when I'm making some kind of breakfast or whatever with my yogurt. But it can't be easier, literally. Mix 2 tablespoons of yogurt with active cultures into what is this, a half gallon? 52 ounces, 1.5 liters. Is that a quart? I don't know. If you don't have Fairlife milk, just find anything that is ultra filtered. I've tried it with regular milk, it doesn't work. I don't know why. But I have my Instant Pot back here, and there's literally a yogurt button. Push yogurt and it goes for 8 hours, and when that's done, throw it in the fridge and you have yogurt, and it's so much better than what you would buy in the stores. See how easy that was? The next thing is almost even easier. I make my own cultured butter. You can make butter out of any type of heavy whipping cream, but I like to do cultured butter. It gives it a really good flavor. So you need a quart of heavy cream. And I do this in the bowl of my KitchenAid mixer because to culture the cream, you have to have some kind of culturing agent. I have cultured buttermilk here. You could probably use the yogurt or the buttermilk interchangeably in either of these recipes. I've never tried to make my yogurt with cultured buttermilk, but I can't see why it wouldn't work. But you have to let it stand for at least 24 hours on the counter, room temperature. It says up to 48 hours plus. I've done it for like 3 days before. And the longer you culture it, the more of like a tangy kind of flavor you get. But to turn it into butter, it has to be very cold. So I like to sit it on my KitchenAid in the counter, covered for a couple of days, and then throw the whole thing in the fridge, because then the cream cools down and so does the bowl, and it makes it so much easier to turn it into butter. But literally, cultured buttermilk, anything again with live cultures should probably work, but I like the buttermilk, and 3 tablespoons of that with a quart of cream, and that's it. The other thing about this is now you have leftover buttermilk for whatever you want to use it for, but when you turn your cream into butter, you also get more buttermilk. So it's also like one of those self-sustaining things. You could use probably your yogurt that you're making with your next batch of cream, so you don't have to buy buttermilk anymore. Then you get buttermilk for the next batch. You see? Super easy. So I'm going to cover this as well. That's going to sit until tomorrow morning. This is going to sit for a few days, and I'll be back to show you what they look like in a day or two. Good morning. It's a few days later. I almost did this part without filming, and then I remembered to turn the camera on, because how annoying would it be if I showed you the beginning of a project but not the end. So my yogurt and my yogurt is done. My butter is ready to turn into butter, and I thought I would show you guys. So the yogurt, you just throw it on the Instant Pot for 8 hours on yogurt setting, and then you put it in the fridge and it's done. They say to refrigerate it for another 8 hours. Ooh, let me fix the lighting here. This is what it looks like. Sorry about the weird lighting. So when it's cooked, when it's done, it's very thick. It's kind of like the consistency of Greek yogurt. Let me see if I can show you guys this way. But as soon as you stir it, it kind of like, I think it breaks up the proteins in the yogurt a little bit and it becomes smoother. So you can see how thick that is. Woo. But if you wanted to have sort of Greek style yogurt, just use it like that. I like it a little bit thinner, and all you have to do is stir it. And if you guys watch, it's a very weird angle, sorry, and my arm is blocking the lighting. But as soon as you give it a stir, it loosens up and it becomes kind of the perfect consistency. You see? Now it's a little more yogurt-like. So that's it. It's like the easiest thing to do. And then you have a ton of yogurt for the week. Ooh, this bowl is cold on my hand. So I don't sweeten this when it's sort of in bulk like that. You can. This would be the time to add a sweetener if you wanted to. I don't want it sweet. Usually I'll drizzle a little bit of like honey or maple syrup on it, afterward. What I frequently forget to do is keep a little bit of this yogurt aside, because this is my starter for the next batch. So now I don't have to buy the store-bought Greek yogurt with cultures to make more yogurt. So a lot of times I'll just take a little bit aside, put it in the fridge, and then it's ready for my next batch. Super easy. And I love making things that I know what's in them. So many of those store-bought yogurts, especially if they have a flavor, look at the ingredients. They're full of chemicals. This is not. Milk and yogurt, nothing else. So that's that. My cream with my buttermilk, I left it on the counter for maybe 3 days, 2 or 3 days. Sorry about this lighting. And it's totally thickened up. Can you see that? It's almost solid. And it does that. That's the cultures doing their thing. So now this has been in the fridge. The cream and the bowl are super cold. So I'm going to throw this on my KitchenAid mixer. And you basically mix this until it separates. Maybe I can film that. I'll try. It will separate into the kind of like curds and whey. The solids will come together, the liquids will come apart. That liquid is your buttermilk, and the solids are your butter. And once it has come together, you actually wash it under cold water and get all of the, it sounds counterintuitive, you get all the liquid out of it by sort of washing and massaging it under cold water. It'll solidify. And then I just wrap it in plastic wrap. So let me move here. I'll see if I can show you how to turn this into butter. Do you see how thick it is? It looks like a thick whipped cream. And it is. That's why it looks like that. You keep going, you push it past this stage and it'll start to separate. We're almost there. Just gonna scrape down the sides a little bit. And pretty soon it's gonna start to separate, and that's when it gets real sloshy. And I don't want buttermilk on my soap. So I'll cover it with a towel, but we're nearly there. You see how it's starting to clump together? It's starting to look just a little bit wet. Kind of looks like cottage cheese. Do you see that? It's like instant. So you'll see the buttermilk start to separate. And as soon as it's come together and separated, you're pretty much done, and you can start massaging it under cold water. I'm going to give this a little bit of a spin with a towel over it, and then I'll show you what it looks like. We have the butter mostly stuck on the mixer and the buttermilk. So as soon as it kind of clumps together like this, you can be done. Look at Lucas' nose. It's not for you. This is when you get your cold water, as cold as you can have it. Sometimes I'll throw this bowl in an ice bath, and you give it a massage and you try to get all that buttermilk out. I'm going to try to save the buttermilk. This is really good for making buttermilk pancakes. You got to get a little messy when you're making butter. You're going to get buttery. You're going to have butter fingers. The first time I heard like you have to wash the butter in water, I was like, how in the world does that work? But it does. The butter is a fat. It does not want to mix with the water. It's literally what we're seeing here. Okay, so I just kind of gather all the butter into one clump. What I might do actually is just sift this buttermilk into a bowl because I do want to save it. When you're trying to do things one-handed, because you're a butterfinger. Let's see here. That should work. Let me see if I can pour this without making too much of a mess. Left-handed pour. That jar was pretty darn perfect. Look at that. Holy smokes. Good job, me. Check that out. So this is an old salsa jar, but now I have a whole jar of buttermilk. And now I don't have to buy buttermilk anymore. Do you see how this works? You can use this to culture your next batch, just like you can use your yogurt to make your next yogurt. It's the circle. You could probably use the buttermilk for both of them, or the yogurt. I've never tried to make butter with yogurt, but anyway. So here's my clump, my cold water, and you can see as you massage it how much more buttermilk comes out. You see that? You want that out. The fat will stay good for a long time in your fridge. The liquid is what can grow bacteria and mold and make your butter rancid. So you literally just massage it to get all that liquid out. And as you're doing that, your hands kind of warm it and it gets softer. So the cold water kind of helps to firm it up again. But you can see how much liquid I'm getting out. Your goal is no more water, no more liquid, only the fat. This is also the time when you would add salt if you want salted butter. I do. So now that I have 2 buttered hands, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get my salt in here. Apparently I'm doing everything left-handed today, but I use about a teaspoon of salt. And you just work it in to your butter. You can use more or less. Sometimes I use Himalayan salt because it's kind of a gentler flavor. But I like salted butter, and I've heard adding salt will actually help to preserve it and keep it longer in your fridge. I wouldn't recommend, I don't know in the rest of the world. In America, a lot of people leave their butter out, like, or in a cupboard so that it's softer. I have to say, I've done that with this, and it doesn't last very long. It does tend to kind of go bad. So with my own butter, I always keep it in the fridge. I didn't really need to use a lot of the cold water. It's soft for sure, but I'm almost not getting any liquid out. So you just play the massage game. Yeah, I'm really not getting any more liquid out. I should have prepared, because now I also need plastic wrap. It's all right. Yeah, I think this is done. Let me see if I can get a paper plate to set this on. Yeah. So out of your, what did I use? A quart of cream. You get that much butter. Maybe I'll weigh it. Yeah, let me weigh it so I know how much butter I got. 387 grams of soap. I've been making soap. Of butter. 13.7 ounces. Not bad. So it's a little short of a pound of butter from 1 quart of cream. In terms of price, I buy good quality cream. But if you buy good quality butter, it's still cheaper. You can buy, cheaper quality for both of them. But I think it works out. And then again, I mean, I don't think you buy a lot of commercial butter that has too many strange things in it, but sometimes you'll get like colorants or whatever. Plus I know, like I buy local cream from this area. I choose how much salt is in it or no salt. I just like it better. So it's about the same price and not a whole lot more effort. I just formed it into a log. I'm gonna wash my hands again. And then I just wrap it. So try to get the air out of it. Roll it. Roll it. And there you go. That's it. My battery died and I have 4 minutes left of filming time on my memory card. That means I need to start getting some of this footage turned into videos for you guys. But that's it. So there's my log of butter. I also have whatever this size jar is of buttermilk and a whole bunch of yogurt. Not bad, right? So anyway, we're done with this. I can't even hardly remember what I filmed at the beginning of this video, but I'm glad you guys hung out with me. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Think about subscribing. You can also become a member. There's a join button below. We have several different tiers if you want some additional content. We have a Facebook page, Nick and Andrew Urban Farm Boys. You can join us on Instagram, all kinds of stuff. So I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, take care, guys.